4 years ago, when Monica Kelsey started her mission to save children from the throes of dangerous abandonment, one of her early stops was in Anderson. Madison County native B.J. Mahoney Hamblin introduced us to Monica, and at that time, the concept of the baby box was just about unheard of in our part of the world. Well, now, 4 years later, Monica is celebrating a milestone of success in the program and has authored a book that will undoubtedly impact countless more lives. Recently, we had a visit with Monica, and she updated us on how the program has progressed since our first visit.
Actually, we are getting ready to bless our 70th box. I kind of lost track of how many Indiana has at this point. I believe 60 boxes are in Indiana.
Monica, if you could, for our listeners that are not familiar with your story, let's talk about why you started this venture.
Sure. I always knew that I was adopted. I just didn't know my beginnings or what it entailed. And when I was 37 years old, I was able to meet my biological mother, and that became the best and the worst day of my life because that was the day that I found out that not only was my birth mom brutally attacked and raped and left along the side of the road to die, but she also abandoned me 2 hours after I was born. And so I had to really kind of pick myself up and learn worth again. And through that, I had to bring my faith into it because when you find out that you were whisked into this world by violence, it's devastating. And so I started this organization to make sure that no woman in this country ever has to not have a safe place for her child to fall. And so Safe Haven Baby Boxes was basically birthed out of my own beginnings.
Now, where do you call home? Are you a Hoosier?
I am a Hoosier. I'm up by Fort Wayne. I live in the city of Woodburn, Indiana, which is a suburb of Fort Wayne.
What are some of the hurdles that you had to overcome in the initial stages?
Well, anytime you bring something new to the United States, there's going to be criticism. There's going to be the question, why do we need this? Why would we do this? Aren't we going backwards? And so I had to get people to understand that women wanted the anonymity piece. And that is where women don't have to walk into a fire station and hand their child to a person and look somebody in the eye and feel judged or shamed. And so I knew that from the statistics that I had gathered that where these babies were being left was at the doors of safe haven locations. Why would they do that? And it was because they loved their child. They just wanted a safe place for them, but they didn't want to do the face to face interaction. And so, I did jump a lot of hurdles in the beginning, especially in the state of Indiana. And not once has our boxes ever been shut down. And I've never wavered from this because I knew that when Christ puts you on a path, he will make sure that that path is followed, no matter the hurdles that you have. And so we have, 70 boxes, and we've had 11 babies in our boxes. 10 of those babies were Hoosier babies, and that was since November of 2017. Now that these babies are being placed in these boxes by their parents, we're not finding dead babies in Indiana anymore. And we were finding on the average of 2 dead babies in our state every year. We haven't had that. And so we've literally flipped the tide in Indiana, and other states are seeing the success that we've had, and they're getting on board and wanting this option for women as well.
Do communities come to you, or do you approach communities, or how does that initiate?
The only time I have ever initiated a conversation of putting a box in was with the first and the second boxes in America, which was Woodburn Fire Station and Coal Springs Fire Station. And that was because I was bringing this new idea to Indiana, and I had to get these guys on board. And it was pretty easy to get Woodburn, to agree, because that was my firehouse, and my husband's the mayor of our city. So if he wanted to come home and sleep with his wife at night, he was going to let me slap a baby box in his firehouse. And then, up in Michigan City, it was actually kind of an easy discussion with the fire department because they had 7 dead babies in a 10-year span, abandoned up in their area. And so they said, well, if we could just save one baby, it would be worth it. And I contacted the Knights of Columbus, who paid for their box. And their box in Michigan City has now had 2 babies in their boxes, and Woodburn's had 1. So I think these boxes have paid for themselves. But most communities actually contact us and say, I want to be proactive. I don't want to find a dead baby in our community, or they have just found a dead baby in their community. And what can they do to make sure that this doesn't happen again? And so they reach out to us. either way, it's a good option for parents to have as a last resort option in their communities to make sure that no babies, found alongside a highway or in the dumpster or trash can ever again.
Typically, from the time that mother drops the child off in the baby box, how long is it before that child is in safe hands?
I don't know if you're aware of this, but we just had another baby in our box in Clarksville, Indiana on May 2nd, a few weeks ago. And that little girl was in the box for less than a minute. Average time for our babies in our boxes are right at 2 minutes. And these boxes are heated and they're cooled. When mom opens that outside door, an immediate 911 call goes out. When baby is placed inside that bassinet, a second 911 call is going out. Now, those alarms are not connected to each other. So if one was to fail, the other one would still pick up. And then once mom shuts that outside door locks. So baby is locked inside this box and can only be retrieved from the inside of the firehouse by firefighters and medical personnel. But the longest time a baby has ever been in our box has been 4 minutes and 20 seconds. And that was at a volunteer fire stations at Cold Springs in Michigan City.
What's the cost involved with installing one of these boxes at a facility that doesn't already have the means to put one in?
Well, we fundraise. So we're a 501c3. So we have to fundraise at least up to $10,000 to do the program for an individual firehouse. Now, they can either pay that or they can fundraise for it with our help or ask donors for it. Now, the installation is on top of that, which is a couple $1,000s usually. We estimate that when everything is said and done, installation alarm is hooked up, the alarm is activated into 911, and the box is installed, it's right about $15,000. But that box is going to be there for that cost forever because when they join the program, when they do the baby box program, they don't do any repairs on that box. The Safe Haven Baby Box Foundation does the repairs and the recertifications. So they can have this box for 20 years. If we have to upgrade electronics, it's at no cost to the firehouse. They basically lease the box from us for as long as they would like to have it. And I know at the end of the day, I'm probably losing money doing this if they've had it for 25 years. But I didn't get in this for the money. I got into this to save the lives of these children and make sure that their moms have a safe place to fall.
As you mentioned earlier, anonymity is obviously one of the amenities involved in this program. Have you ever retroactively heard from any of the mothers afterward talking about what a blessing that was?
Actually, yes. We hear from a lot of these parents. Believe it or not, two of the moms are actually volunteers for our organization now. One of those moms left a note with her child when she placed that child in one of our boxes, and she has allowed me to take that letter and put it in my book for people to see her heart. And when I say her heart, this letter is written to her daughter that she surrendered in one of our boxes, but the love that is poured into this letter shows you how much these mothers love these babies. And she was gracious enough to allow me to print it so that people can understand what they're going through and the fact that this isn't an easy decision for them. This is the hardest decision that they'll ever have to make, but they do it out of love and they do it out of selflessness. And so yeah, we I think out of the 11 babies in our boxes, I think 3 or 4 we have not heard from. The rest we have relationships with the parents, the biological parents.
Let's talk about the book. You've been putting the pen to the paper, so let's look at that.
I have. So my book has been launched. It launched May 1st. It's called Blessed to Have Been Abandoned, the story of the baby box lady. And it literally takes my pain that I have endured of finding out that I was this child whisked into this world by violence and then abandoned at birth. And I took that pain and I've turned it into purpose. And the purpose is the Baby Box Foundation. I use a lot of scripture in this book because that is where I found my path again, was through scripture. Because anyone that finds this kind of news out, it's not a good day for us. And so I wrote this book in the hopes that these 11 babies that we've saved in our boxes will one day read this book and see that their life matters, their life, their mothers loved them, and that they can take this experience and turn it into something amazing and change the course of somebody else's life. So the book is called Blessed to Have Been Abandoned, the story of the baby box lady. You can get it on Amazon. You can get it at Barnes & Noble's, Books A Million, Walmart.com, or you can go to our website at shbb.org and order it there as well.
Are you aware of any communities that a volunteer has approached and they've had pushback to resist putting a box in?
Well, the location in Indiana was Columbus, Indiana, where a high school senior raised $10,000 and gifted a box to the city of Columbus, and they decided not to do the program. And this high school senior was autistic, and he raised this money by shoveling snow and mowing grass and scrapping cans. And they graciously said thanks, but no thanks. And so we took that money and utilized it for Seymour, Indiana, which is, down the road from Columbus, Indiana. And 5 months after we installed the box in Seymour, it had its first baby. So I think that Christ knew where that box needed to go. And unfortunately, Columbus, Indiana does not have a box. They do not want a box. So Seymour, Indiana is reaping the rewards from this high school senior that raised all the money.
Why would somebody not want one, especially when it didn't cost?
This is the $1 million question that I wish I could answer every day, because it's almost unbelievable when people say this to me. They want a woman to walk into a fire station and hand the child to a person. And of course, that's what we all want. I want a woman to walk into the fire station and hand the child to a person as well. But they're not doing this. They're leaving their babies at the doors of these safe haven locations. And so, to say that they want women to do that, that's great. We all want that. But that doesn't mean that these women are going to do it. And so we're still seeing abandoned babies throughout this country because some locations like, Columbus just doesn't want to do it. And so, and then we also have the people who are against adoption that say that these babies deserve to know their biological parents and their heritage. Well, that's completely against the safe haven law that's been around for 20 years. You don't have to give your name. You don't have to give any information. But it's just, honestly, it floors me. It's like the $1 million question that I just don't understand how people don't get it. I would just, if there's anybody that's listening that needs a resource available for them or just needs to know their options, they can call us. They can go to our website. The website is shbb.org, or they can call us on our crisis line at 1-866-99-BABY-1.
And repeat that number again, please.
1-866-99-BABY-1.
Is that staffed 24 hours?
It is staffed 24 hours a day, and you can also text. So if you don't want to call and talk to someone, you can actually just text, and they'll text you back. And
Okay.
yes, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Monica Kelsey, a blessing to many lives who may never know her, and striving to make communities like ours a better place to live. Now, since our interview, a reliable source told The Buzz that while the city of Anderson has declined to receive a baby box, a private entity here is expected to announce their intent to install one in Anderson soon. And we'll let you know in an upcoming update about that. Thanks for listening. That's the latest buzz of Madison County.